is just making matters worse.
The ship's AI? Do you mean Apollo?
Are you familiar?
Apollo was the ship's tactical AI. He was instrumental in helping us survive our first encounter with the biomass.
I just hope he's still online.
Considering my difficulties exploring here, he must be.
Then if we can make contact with Apollo, he can probably help us find the fuel cell we need.
Guess it's time to say hello to our old friend.
Roger that. Heading to the bridge. All this scaffolding. Dr. Harlan, were you attempting to repair the bridge?
I was stabilizing it so I could investigate. It would have become a salvage operation had the ship's AI not shut down all my equipment. With my equipment offline, the radiation there has made it impossible to work.
Not to worry, Dr. Harlan. Apollo will listen to us.
A downed cargo drone. Some of your equipment, Dr. Harlan.
Correct. Incapacitated by the ship's AI, best I can tell.
Why would Apollo do that?
He did mention serving as a tactical AI. It's possible Apollo has activated some security measures around his ship.
Isn't that perfect?
Well, I'm sure you can convince him to help us out, Jack. We did before.
Power feeding from Chiron Station.
A way to keep the bridge online, so Dr. Harlan could investigate.
Wait, you're powering the bridge? Don't you think that could have...
Yes, Captain Rhodes. It seems in doing so that I inadvertently prompted the ship's AI to destroy my equipment. Juno was handling the cargo drone's navigation out there, so I assumed I could safely investigate the bridge. I didn't want to lose an opportunity to learn more. But perhaps this outcome was inevitable.
A bypass for the door controls, locked behind a keypad.
It was the only way I could gain access. The code is 2126.
I've gained access to the bridge.
I assume you have some type of plan.
Apollo's AI core would be an appropriate place to start. It was vital to his operation here.
Good point, Jack. If it's still intact, could be all we need to strike up a conversation.
You two are rather confident.
Apollo commissioned us as official crew members last time we met.
And we did part on good terms. I'm sure he'll do what he can to help.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
A casualty from Dr. Harlan's previous investigation.
It was just another shell lying around the station. We were trying to put it to good use.
I thought I could pilot it well enough, but apparently limb control is not my forte.
I'm expecting you'll fare better, Echo One. If this Apollo is indeed the ally you say he is.
An electrode for the defibrillator.
If you hadn't found that defib unit when you did, I wouldn't be here.
I should have been more careful.
Come on, Jack, stop it.
I should have checked the air for contaminants.
You know that would have taken too long. I'd have died on the table. And neither of us would be here now. You can't blame yourself for my infection. I certainly don't.
If the two of you are finished.
Right. Let's get back to it.
These induction panels were essential to my survival on the Estrella. However, they no longer appear to be in an operable state, much like the rest of the ship.
Apollo's AI core probably just needs to be plugged back in, Jack. Let's see if we can get him kicking.
Apollo's AI core.
Oh, still intact?
Reasonably so, it seems. I'll just need to plug it into the mainframe access slot to be sure. The main access point for the bridge systems. With Apollo's AI core plugged in here, we might have a chance of establishing contact. We once used this interface to grant Apollo control of the bridge systems. It could still work. The core made contact, but the connection was rejected. It might require the mainframe access slot instead.
Unknown user detected. Bridge access is restricted to crew members only.
Wait, what?
Initializing threat suppression protocol.
Apollo, disable the alarms. Now!
Invalid command. The only crew members authorized with bridge access are Captain Olivia Rhodes and the Echo Unit designation. Jack, welcome back to the Estrella. It is good to see you.
Thank you, Apollo. It is good to see you as well.
Is Captain Rhodes with you? And well, I hope.
Cheers, Apollo. We missed you.
Likewise, Captain. Jack, your appearance is altered. I almost did not recognize you. I must apologize for the alarms.
Your reasoning was sound.
What brings you back to the Estrella?
We need an FTL fuel cell, Apollo. But we believe you've been disabling Dr. Harlan's salvaging equipment. We'll need it back online to deal with the radiation here.
Preserving this vessel is my primary directive. The last time jump virtually destroyed it. No further attempts to remove or misuse equipment can be permitted.
Lives depend on it, Apollo.
I understand, Captain, but I cannot allow any further material from this vessel to be compromised.
Apollo, Liv is infected with the biomass, and your directive is protecting the ship's crew and its critical assets.
Forgive me, Jack. I failed to follow your reasoning.
You yourself commissioned Liv, a fellow Atlas employee, as acting captain after the deaths of your original crew. You must remember.
Confirmed. Though I had not considered her status in such terms. Captain Rhodes is truly infected.
She needs your help.
Very well. As the Estrella's tactical adjunct, my primary directive is to protect its crew.
So you will help then?
Affirmative. I am hereby available to assist you in obtaining a fuel cell.
Lovely. That's settled.
Apollo, are you able to detect any fuel cells that are still operational?
My sensor network has been severely damaged. However, any functional fuel cells on the Estrella would be in the auxiliary drive bay. It can be seen through the window far ahead of the bridge. It is approximately 400 meters from here.
Seems easy enough to reach.
And it would be if this AI hadn't disabled the equipment I set up to counter the radiation.
A temporary security measure. Your equipment is now re-enabled.
You better not have damaged any of it.
Normal operations should resume now. Jack can verify this.
Oh dear. Incoming.
What the hell is that?
A cargo drone. Apparently no longer capable of flight.
Apologies. My anti-theft protocols are quite aggressive.
Fortunately, our salvaging equipment appears to still have working radiation dampeners, meaning Jack should now have a safe route to the drive bay.
That's some good news.
A number of problems remain. Accessing the fuel cells, for one. Doing so will require that I have direct control of the systems within the drive bay. You must bring me along with you.
Are you seriously going to integrate with this rogue AI?
Without Apollo, we wouldn't have lasted this long. We can trust him.
Jack, I'll walk you through the process of downloading my imprint to your cortex.
I'm ready, Apollo.
Simply insert my AI core into the lower receptacle, then use your data link on the override slot. I will do the rest. Disconnecting from mainframe now. Download complete. Only one final issue remains, Jack. Your arms are too short.
Too short?
The FTL technology is highly sensitive. Accessing the drive bay and the fuel cells within will require multiple operators.
Good thing there's two of us, then.
Unfortunately, the debris field is far too irradiated to accommodate Captain Rhodes.
You're saying Jack's the best chance we've got, but even he won't be enough.
I might be able to help, actually. The cargo drones employ stasis technology, which enables them to manipulate objects at a distance.
Like the stasis projectors we used to levitate the tram back in the hab.
Exactly. I believe I can incorporate the drone stasis tech into your shell, Jack. I'll just need more data from them to be sure.
The drone that just hit the bridge is unlikely to put up much resistance. I'll start there.
Whenever you're ready, Jack.
I'm heading out. Unfortunately, this drone is in no condition to be scanned. I'll try finding another.
Jack, to stay protected from radiation out there, you'll need to activate radiation dampeners with your data link. They can be found on both charging docks and cargo drones.
Is there any possibility of recovering this drone?
I'm not sure. Its guidance module is clearly offline, but some of its other systems might still be intact. Scanning its data port will allow us to evaluate.
Radiation dampener activated.
Hypothesis confirmed. With sufficient data, I'll be able to construct a tool for extending your reach, Jack.
Does this tool have a name, Juno?
Well, it will essentially project your grip across space, so I suppose...
It's a grip projector. Let's move on.
More data will be needed.
There'll be plenty on the way to the drive bay. You know what to look for.
Affirmative. Inoperable cargo drones, but with functioning data ports. Heading to the drive bay.
Please remember the charging docks have radiation dampeners as well, Jack. They'll help keep you safe out there.
Thank you, Juno.
Shields at 30%. Good find, Jack. There's a bit of data in there we can apply toward developing a cure for the biomass.
Apollo, your defensive measures are quite capable.
Given that my primary function is advanced tactics, I consider my response to have been admirably restrained.
Not to interrupt your self-congratulations, but going forward, is there anything else I should know about your countermeasures in regards to my vessel?
My only direct interaction with your ship was a preliminary threat analysis. None was detected.
Echo 1, those charging docks won't have the data Juno needs to design your new tool, but they will restore your power. Hold your hands near the induction panel, and it will recharge your shielding.
Shields at 95%. dock restored to operational status. You may recharge your shield as needed. Though, interesting. I believe I may have found a secondary use for restoring these docks, recovering their local data, specifically because the docks normally maintain a coordination and optimization network. They contain shared data from across the station. Prior to the generator going offline, the units in irradiated areas were sharing optimizations that I believe could still be used to improve your multispectral shielding, Jack.
Scanning further docks should provide the necessary data?
Yes, I believe so. I've added a tracker to your data tab.
Apollo, I wanted to ask.
Yes, Captain.
Well, you probably figured this out already, but... You know this isn't your channel, right?
Apollo, I believe I may be able to extend Jack's reach by about 4 meters. I hope that will be far enough.
Affirmative.
Just a few more scans should suffice, Jack. Archives recovered. I'm quite confident now that with more optimization data, I can significantly improve your multispectral shielding's resistance to radiation.
I am curious to know, why is my shielding not already optimized? Neither my shell nor the charging docks are experimental technologies, correct?
That is true. I believe the lack of optimization stems from 2 related factors. Firstly, there has not been a significant need for such optimization. The current shielding configuration has been more than adequate for typical X3 mission profiles. Secondly, practical testing scenarios for data collection have not presented themselves until quite recently.
You are referring to the Estrella?
Indeed. Only after its arrival and the Doctor's subsequent attempts at salvage operations in its vicinity have the docks had sufficient exposure to generate meaningful findings. Fortunately, now that you are using an X3 shell, it's become apparent that those findings can be put to additional use. Jack, I'm detecting extreme radiation nearby. If you can pinpoint the source, I advise staying clear. Shields at 95%. Shields at 50%. Data stores recovered. Network connectivity restored. This should prove useful in optimizing your multispectral shielding, Jack. Shields at 95%. Analyzing. Perfect. As predicted, I now have sufficient data to improve your multispectral shielding, Jack. Please return to the nearest fabricator for installation.
Earth still appears blue from this distance. The blight of the biomass is nowhere in evidence.
You think we'll ever be able to go back? Not just me, but... humanity.
Earth's biosphere has endured multiple extinction-level events, even before the onset of humanity. The odds of it weathering this latest cataclysm are more than favorable.
Yeah. She'll be alright.
Installation successful. Jack, your multispectral shielding should now be more resistant to radiation. Please note, however, that contact with biomass will still drain it just as rapidly as before.
Understood. Thank you, Juno.
Of course. Shields at 95%. The stasis projection technology will be simpler to adapt than previously anticipated. If you scan one more cargo drone, I believe I will have enough data to complete your new tool.
Apollo, your defensive measures are quite capable.
Given that my primary function is advanced tactics, I consider my response to have been admirably restrained.
Tool schematics complete. Please visit a fabricator to install your new tool jack. Most charging docks will have one nearby.
Hazard identified. An active warhead from the Estrella.
Once your grip projector is installed, removal of dangerous objects like this will be possible. Until then, maintaining a prudent distance is advisable. Shields at 50%. Charging dock restored. Jack, now that we've completed optimizing your shield's radiation resistance, I'm afraid there's nothing more to be gained from the dock's data.
What's the point of an advanced network of semi-autonomous recharge stations if you can't count on them to calculate impressive optimizations for you?
I believe you are correct, Captain. The distributed computing power of the charging docks could be put to greater use.
Yes. That's precisely what I meant. Go on.
I have tasked the charging docks with developing a means for allowing Jack's shield to self-regenerate. The wealth of empirical data they have collected on recharging should prove invaluable to the process.
Then I presume additional data scans would be of value after all.
Indeed. Please continue scanning any docks you may find. The additional computing power of more active units would be advantageous as well.
Copy that.
Hell of a lot of radiation out there. Guess it's coming from the Estrella.
Correct. The Estrella's last time jump ruptured a generator, diffusing radiation throughout the region.
Thus the radiation dampness.
Grip projector installed. To use your grip projector, simply point at a target, activate the projector, and direct it with your hand. Any sufficiently small piece of debris would be ideal to experiment on.
If your new tool works as intended, Jack, you should be able to access the fuel cells now.
Good. Heading to the drive bay.
More cysts, Jack.
No tentacles, though. It must be an unevolved specimen from our original time.
Nevertheless, still quite deadly, as doubtless you recall.
Apollo, your defensive measures are quite capable.
Given that my primary function is advanced tactics, I consider my response to have been admirably restrained.
Not to interrupt your self-congratulations, but going forward, is there anything else they should know about your countermeasures in regards to my vessel?
My only direct interaction with your ship was a preliminary threat analysis. None was detected.
I acknowledge my
Gratitude?
understanding.
So, you acknowledge your knowledge?
We are not here to split hairs, Captain Rhodes.
Shields at 95%. Research data in there. Just a small amount, but every bit helps with the cure. Shields at 95%. Dock online. The archives in this unit have been added to the dataset as well.
Dr. Harlan, what was your purpose in attempting to salvage the Estrella? The odds of my ship's components being compatible with yours seems unlikely.
It wasn't the hardware I was after. Your ship was the original source of the infestation. I'd hoped to find an undetonated biomass torpedo amongst the wreckage. Use it to develop a cure for all this.
I understand, Doctor. Considering my current directives, I will provide any useful data that may help in your research.
Better late than never, I suppose.
This dock is now part of the computational array.
How's it looking out there, Jack?
Manageable. How are your preparations coming?
You know that biomass container you grabbed? Got it routed through the ship's fuel lines. Not sure if I should be proud of the accomplishment, or just terrified.
I'm sure Dr. Harlan understands the risk we're taking.
I do. A mix of pride and terror is the appropriate reaction.
Perhaps it would be wise to keep a healthy distance from the biomass container.
Yeah. Good call.
Shields at 95%.
I'm coming up on the drive bay now.
Warheads nearby, Jack. Please be mindful of their extreme radiation levels.
You won't be able to handle them directly, Jack. Maybe your new tool could help.
Good find, Jack. There's a bit of data in there we can apply toward developing a cure for the biomass. Shields at 95%.
Warheads removed. Entry into the drive bay is now clear.
Copy that. Standing by.
Now heading for the fuel cells.
Great. We'll keep a working cargo drone on standby. Just look for a good fuel cell and we'll handle the rest.
Roger that. Apollo, can we rely on the remaining munitions to stay in place?
Affirmative. With the ship now stabilized, these warheads should remain safely stowed.
The Estrella must have seen a few battles in its day, huh?
While the Estrella's combat history is above your clearance level, Captain, I can share this. Until faced with the biomass, she was undefeated in battle.
And here I was thinking my helium harvest totals made for an impressive record.
A spent biomass torpedo.
Just like every other that was left behind here. Useless for my research, unfortunately. As soon as one detonates, accessing its incubator is no longer tenable.
Given the damage the Estrella has sustained, I would not expect even a simple system such as this to remain operational. How was that achieved?
The Estrella was built for war. Her high level of redundancy and modularity limits most damage to the compartment that sustained it. In the case of that display, it is still receiving power from micro-generators and integrated capacitors.
All within that part of the ship?
All within that hallway.
We would never even consider building something so vulnerable to the biomass.
Suffice to say, Doctor, the biomass was not a threat we anticipated. Though I'm afraid beyond that, the details are classified.
Of course they are.
Apollo, is this the only way into the drive bay?
I'm afraid that's correct, Jack. The fuel cells are stable, but the same cannot be said of their contents. As a result, access is tightly restricted. The door can be opened, however, by using the nearby controls. Jack, the fuel cells are protected behind a large security door. You'll need to activate a pair of nearby controls to gain access.
Apollo, are these the door controls you mentioned?
Correct. To open the door, both controls will need to be engaged at the same time.
I've gained access to the drive bay.
Wait, those pillars in the center, are those?
The Estrella's FTL drives, yes.
Do they still work?
Theoretically, but unfortunately they're of little use to us. With such a high concentration of biomass forms in this area, any attempt to remove one of the drives would prove futile.
Dr. Harlan, I'm noticing these ticks appear to be less evolved than those we've previously encountered.
Must have carried over from the last time jump. No doubt just as dangerous. I advise avoidance at all costs.
Jack, my monitoring systems are offline here. You'll need to manually inspect each fuel cell in order to determine its viability. Simply scan their data ports to get started.
Fuel cell located.
Use the data port and I'll expose the cell for visual inspection.
Apollo, could one of these infected fuel cells still be full?
It is conceivable, Jack. However, the infestation renders it impossible for me to extract the cell.
Understood, Apollo. I'll check the other cells. Apollo, what are the chances that any of these fuel cells are still full?
The fuel cells were not designed for time travel, so unfortunately the odds of viability are incalculable. Scanning all their data ports will answer your query, however. Exposing fuel cell for your inspection, Jack.
Empty. I'll have to keep looking.
Jack, the data ports you need to access are located on the storage units running along the room's perimeter.
The units may be covered in biomass, but the ticks seem to prefer the center of the room.
Accessing fuel cell.
Another empty cell.
Apollo, you're sure there's a good fuel cell there?
I never said I was sure, Captain Rose. It's simply the most likely location on my ship to contain a viable fuel cell, if any were remaining.
Right. If any were remaining.
Exposing fuel cell for inspection.
This does not look good. These cells are all empty.
Jack, if you access the data ports beside the storage cells, I can open them to allow further examination.
Viable fuel cell located. Hopefully enough to power Dr. Harlan's FTL drive.
Nicely done, Jack. I'm sending a drone your way.
Send 2.
What for? There's only one fuel cell.
Just trust me. Send 2.
Warning, lead drone compromised.
Jack, what's going on?
The ticks swarmed the lead cargo drone.
And that is why you send 2.
Fair enough.
I don't think we'll be using that one again.
Backup drone malfunctioning.
More ticks. The lead drone is disabled, but the backup still has a chance.
Pesky bastards, aren't they?
I'll clear them off. Cargo drone cleared.
Acknowledged. Thank you, Jack. Resuming flight. Drone is in place to collect the cargo.
Jack, I've activated the release controls on the fuel cell.
Good find, Jack. There's a significant quantity of data here, and I believe much of it can be used in our effort to develop a cure.